I can totally see us cooking in this kitchen.
I can totally see us cooking like pros with natural gas.
Oh, I would love to soak in that tub.
I'd love to save energy and money with a natural gas water heater.
I can imagine cuddling up in here.
Because natural gas heating keeps the house comfortable when we need it.
We have to get this house.
We have to get natural gas.
We're investing in infrastructure to help bring comfort and savings to you. Visit centerpointenergy.com/natural gas benefits. CenterPoint Energy, always there.
Just a quick question. Obviously, the schedule got released last week, and kind of want to get your thoughts on the non-conference and the SEC portion of the schedule.
Well, I just think it's a very, very aggressive schedule for a inexperienced team. We're going to miss those first 4 games to try to get our feet under us, which you normally get at home by starting on the 25th. So we start right out of the gate with very difficult games on a neutral court against Clemson and then either Purdue or Liberty. Both teams are very good and extremely well coached. Our non-conference also includes, games against Dayton and Utah State, both tournament teams from a year ago, the last few years actually, at neutral sites, as well as Iowa State here at home in the Big 12 Challenge. North Texas State has picked to win their league. So, we've got a number of tough games. Texas State will be a very well-coached and good team that has a veteran group. So we've got our hands full in terms of our 9-game non-conference schedule. And then the conference is exactly what we expected. Always incredibly tough and difficult. We open up on the road this year at Georgia and then come back and, play Kentucky and Missouri. And then I think we're at Vanderbilt and just, it just keeps going. It's a very, very, tough league, and we're starting a little earlier to give ourselves some time in case there have to be some games made up on those 3 days left prior to the SEC tournament.
We'll go ahead and get it to Garrick for the next question. We'll go to Garrick and then we'll go to Nick. So Garrick, why don't you go ahead?
Hey Ben, a couple of weeks into practice, have you got more of an indication of how many guys might be in your rotation, at least early on in the season?
Well, we'll play at least 8 and then probably 9 when it's all said and done, which is pretty typical. But then when you throw in, we're so young. I mean, guys are still vying for playing time and opportunity as guys continue to produce every day. That's why we make practice so competitive. Every day in practice we keep stats. So, everything is competitive and there's always, accountability. Like our leading rebounder by far is Tolu Smith. Second is Abdul. Third is J.D. Davis. Those guys all have to play. We got to play the guys that rebound the basketball. Our best shooters have been DJ Stewart, Iverson Molinar, and Jalen Johnson, and then probably Davon in that order from 3. Those guys are all doing, a very good job. One of our best defenders is end up being Cameron Matthews. He by far has the most steals on the team. I think he's 4th on the team in rebounding, and is proven to be one of our best defenders. We had Quentin Post out of practice for 2 weeks, and so he's been back now for a week, and I thought he had a good week in practice last week. So he's doing a good job. But all these kids are working hard. We have young man Montgomery who has changed his jump shot from more of a set shot what he had in high school. Those of you that know him from high school, like Paul, for example, to now shooting a jump shot. And he's really working hard at it. I think it's going to really help him here in the long term, become a good shooter. But it just takes a lot of work. Not getting the time that you normally get in the summer to work with kids and break down their shot, is something that we miss. But, we're excited that we're getting closer. I mean, we're 2 weeks from this coming Wednesday. So it's right around the corner. It's all getting ready to happen. And the biggest factor for us to have success is just staying healthy from COVID and staying healthy just from other injuries that, teams sustained during the year.
Go ahead, Nick.
Coach, the first thing you said about your team was the inexperience in the youth. How much of a process is that going to be going into the season? Maybe just getting these guys comfortable playing SEC basketball, D1 basketball.
Well, I mean, experience, the only way you get experience is going through it and, getting out there. And so, we're going straight from practice to the fire. No scrimmages, no exhibition games. Those are always good things to have in a normal year because it gives you a little, information, and also guys get used to playing under the lights. You're playing against somebody else. I mean, our guys are tired of beating up on each other and can't wait to play other people. But, all those things are thrown out of the window this year because of COVID, so we just deal with it like everybody else has to deal with it. But again, we have a team that's very young. We're going to play, a lot of kids that haven't played Division I basketball before. So it's going to be, a real baptism.
Let's go ahead and get it to Joel, and then we'll go back to Paul. So, Joel, why don't you go ahead?
Hey, Ben. I don't know. It's still early, and like you said, no games, no exhibition games to kind of figure it out. But is there a thing or two that right now you're really working on that's kind of a major concern of yours at all right now? Is there anything that kind of sticks out as something that the team really needs to work on at this point?
Yeah, we got to work on everything. I mean, it's all the above, starting with defense and doing a good job just with the basic fundamentals. Like we spend a lot of time talking and working on, blocking out every day, contesting every shot, the level of reach, jumping to the ball and being ball side and being in help. The NBA has rules where they don't allow help because it's an advantage to be in help. So we want to be in help because our rules allow for that. We want to do a great job in transition defense. Every day we talk about our transition defensive principles of having two guys back on the shot, stopping the ball, etc. Offensively, just continuing to execute, setting good screens, making the extra pass, having patience, getting it inside, playing it inside out, because we have two bigs, really three bigs that can really score around the goal. But it's all the above. But I do want to say to you, Joel, in all seriousness, that the Dodgers made a great comeback this year in the playoffs at Atlanta. It was just absolutely wonderful for a Dodger fan growing up as a young kid that loved the Dodgers in my youth, listened to every game on the radio, to be down 3-1, never give up, never quit, come back and actually win that series and go on to win the World Championship. So I know how much that hurt, and I get it, but some of us are happy.
Well, see, that's where I'll take my piece, is knowing that it made you happy, Ben. So that's good to know.
On that note, let's go ahead and get it back to Paul, and then we'll go to Gary Graves from the AP. Paul, go ahead.
Coach, back to Cameron Matthews. When you recruited him, did you see that defensive aspect in his game, or is that something he's kind of built since he's been on campus, or is that something you picked up on early when recruiting him?
You know what? He was a very good athlete, and I think the biggest thing that we saw is he was well coached. They're a well coached high school team. He does an outstanding job, and what I like about him, he has a good basketball IQ. He knows how to screen. He knows how to cut without the ball. He's a very good passer. Like, his assist-to-turnover ratio is one of the best on our team. When he's out there handling the ball, he has a lot of point guard skills where he sees the floor. He can make plays for others. He can penetrate and stop. He can finish at the rim because of his body. They run a lot of motion. I watched him, play a lot in high school all the way since his freshman year because we were recruiting one of his teammates really hard. And so I saw him play for 4 years. And you learn, I think, so much from watching kids practice. So I think he comes with a very good, understanding of the game, basketball IQ, feel for the game. He's working hard on his shot. Probably the biggest thing he's got to get better at is continue to be able to knock down the open, 18 to 20-foot shot. And he's been doing that in practice. So I've been pleased with that.
Go ahead, Gary. You can go next.
Good afternoon, Coach. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Gary.
All right. I guess you alluded to about defense earlier, but when you've got such a young group, what's your philosophy on developing offense with them? I mean, do you kind of tell them, nurture them to really craft their shot, or do you have them work kind of within some restraints and develop a shot?
Well, you know what? We work on shooting with each of our players individually on top of the practices that we do 3 times a week. So they're getting up hundreds and hundreds of shots. So we're working like we had really 4 or 5 different kids on our team that have their guide hand thumb involved in their shot. I'll give you a great example. Iverson Molinar from a year ago came in here and he was basically shooting it two-handed. His left thumb was putting side spin on his shot. This is true right now, for example, with a number of players on our team. I mean, Quentin Post came in like that. Keiondre Montgomery came in like that. Even DJ Stewart has some right thumb involved in his left-handed shot. In fact, we just got these new gloves here in the last few weeks that don't let you use your, guide hand thumb to be involved in the shot. So we're breaking down things to that level. We have a machine that governs what a perfect arc is on your shot. We spend an inordinate amount of time on shooting because at the end of the day, you got to put the ball in the basket. But then we're also, we already have in probably 18 to 20 of our set plays. And then it's all the different things you can do out of those set plays. We have 4 different things in our transition secondary offense. We've got a number of plays for our zone offenses. We have 3 different zone offenses. So there's so much to put in. There's 3 different press offenses. There's, 10 different out of bounds plays. There's a lot. In most high school teams, which, half our team is essentially, they don't have that many sets, that many plays. So it's just learning. It's a lot of learning going into it. So, you're still you're getting your guys freedom. A lot of teams switch, and at the end of the day, you got to break people down, be able to jump stop, kick the ball, and make wide open shots. We're trying to take good shots on offense, whether that's early in transition and then pulling it out and running good half-court sets.
Let's go ahead and get it to John Sokoloff. John, go ahead.
How's it going, Ben? I wanted to talk about some, past players, and Robert Woodard, one of them. What's it kind of, because you've obviously had so many players obviously go on into the NBA. I guess my question is, how many teams have kind of reached out to you about Robert? What kind of advice have you given him, with obviously the big day next Wednesday? And how do you kind of see him fitting into today's modern NBA?
Well, he really fits into that point, modern day NBA, because he's one of those guys that stretches the floor with his ability to shoot the three. If you saw the stats, on the moving threes, he was like 4th or 5th of all the players tested in their virtual combines in terms of percentage, 65%. He was also in the top 5 in one of the other shooting drills. I forget which one it was. So he really tested off the charts in the combine. He also measured out at 7'2" across, which is a great analytic for basketball. They love that. And then when you talk, he was interviewed by every single team in the NBA in terms of a Zoom conference call. Every team. And multiple teams. I'm talking about a number of teams, explained to me that this was the best interview of the year they had with anybody. That, he's so mature, he handles himself so well, suit and tie, incredibly prepared for each team. He's in a great position to be taken in the latter part of the first round, definitely among the first few picks in the second if it's not in the first. And I think Reggie Perry's in a similar situation where he's got a number of teams interested in him late first, early second as well. So both of our guys, they're going to get drafted, are in very good situations. Robert, being from Columbus, I know you're over there. He's going to have a great career, very mature for his age. He's been lifting incredibly hard. He also did like some of the drills that you have to do, the shuttle run, for example. He tested off the charts in for his size. So like he's really helped himself in so many ways here in the last 2 weeks. And in fact, I was on with a prominent GM this past week who's interviewing him this week that, you know, he could definitely be a first round pick.
Let's go ahead and get it to Brian Haydad, and then we'll go back to Nick. Brian, go ahead.
Well, Coach, you've had a great summer with the Dodgers and the Lakers. It's just been championship after championship for you. I sort of want to play off of Joel's question a little bit. He asked you about some negatives. What is your team doing, and what are you seeing from them right now that you would say are positives, some things you feel really good about going into the season?
I think that like Abdul's improved his aggressiveness on offense. Abdul is trying to be more aggressive offensively than he's ever been during his career here. And again, part of that is, you know, when you start playing basketball at 15, you gravitate to what you do best, which is rebound and block shots. But I think Abdul's become very aggressive offensively. I think that you see days where Iverson and both DJ Stewart and Tolu, all three of those guys are really dominant on the offensive end. Those three guys in particular are going to be really good for us in multiple ways. But there's days like last week in one of the practices, DJ Stewart was 15 for 24 from the field in a practice. And I think 6 or 8 of them were threes. So he's had some days where he really, really is impressive. And, you know, when you talk about things that I really like, this year we probably have 3 guys in Davon, Smith, Molinar, and Stewart that are all great in ball screen actions. So we got to get all 3 of those guys in a lot of ball screen situations because they're all really good at reading and creating coming off of ball screens. So that's probably one of the best things we do right now in terms of our offense, those 3 guys creating out of those situations.
Fantastic. We'll go ahead and keep going with Nick, and then if you have any other questions, be sure to put them on the chat. We'll have time for a couple more.
Coach, you mentioned Montgomery, Keiondre Montgomery. He's obviously a local kid here in Jackson. What kind of impact can you see him coming into his true freshman year?
Well, you know what? He has a great body. You know, he's 6'7", he's long. He's I think he's evolving into what can be a really good shooter. You know, he was a kid coming out of high school that shot more of a set shot from below his forehead. That does not work at this level with athletes closing out on you. You just, it's hard. So getting him to learn to shoot a true jump shot, which he can, with arc, which has been a real, thing for him. His shot's been very flat all his career. Now we're trying to get arc on his shot because it goes in more often with arc. There's all these, we have like a machine here called Noah's Arc that has about 15 million shots of data behind it. Every NBA team has one. And so, there's a lot of data that supports how important it is to have good arc on your shot and the ideal amount of arc on your shot, because you can have too much. And so, all these things we're trying to get him to dial in, and really it's going to take time, but he's really, really got an incredible work ethic. He's very driven, he's early every day to 7:30 weightlifting. He's early every day to everything. He's doing a good job in the classroom as well, really working hard. So I'm very excited about Keiondre and his future. I think he's going to be a really good basketball player for us in time. It's just, going through the process.
We'll go ahead and get it to Gary, and then if we have any other questions, let's go ahead and put it in the chat before we wrap up today.
Coach, I guess when you've got such a young team, how patient do you have to be, or how patient are you right now?
Well, that's a very important thing to be, is to have patience. And it is a virtue, I've told. So I'm really, trying to follow that. And it's important when you have youth and you have kids going through things the first time. I'm totally, understand that. And I guess that's one of the advantages of, having so many years at the Division I level. I've had teams that are really young in the past, and the thing is, they're going to have so much more room in terms of a ceiling for growth because they're so young, and so we've got to understand that and give them time to do that. And this thing's a process, but Bottom line is we want to go into every game, and we expect to win every game we go into.